What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Floyd Street's Finest, presented by Great Flood Brewing Company. I am your host, Jeff Greer. Excited to be back with you. As a reminder, of course, we are part of the Field of 68 Media Network, and I cannot more highly recommend that you check out the number of other podcasts that our network has. College basketball season is very, very close to starting, and everybody is ramping up again. I need to take a moment here and just say, I apologize. It has been a few weeks since we did our last episode. Needless to say, off-season scheduling has just been very difficult. So I am dedicated now as the preseason has started to have an episode every week. So that is my promise to you. And I'm sure that I will regret that later. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we'll have episodes every week. And this week is a great one. We've got Peyton Siva joining us to talk a little bit about his foray into coaching. He's doing some one-on-one development stuff with people, with kids. He's gotten into, this summer he got into the NBPA Top 100 Camp, which is an elite basketball get together at University of Virginia in Charlottesville for, as you might imagine, a bunch of top 100 kids across multiple classes. But they also bring in guys like Peyton Siva, who may be, are former players who may be interested in coaching, or in his case, players who are taking a break from the game and may be interested in coaching. I can't think of anyone better than Peyton as a guy to transition into coaching down the line. He is, of course, has always been a really smart floor general, a great point guard, proved himself at the college level, played at a very high level in the EuroLeague, and had a lot of respect over there too, as for his abilities and understanding of the game. So a great teacher, surely, with a lot that he can share with younger players. So I won't waste any more time. Let's get right to my conversation with Peyton. Before we do that, though, real quick, what a difference a few months make. Come have a beer, bourbon, or a glass of wine at Great Flood. The weather, we're cooling down again. It's fall, and it's a great opportunity to come in, enjoy the friendly staff. The patio is still nice. It's perfect weather to sit outside, to enjoy some drinks at Great Flood. Of course, their locations in the Highlands and in Middletown as they continue to advance through football season, and basketball season is right around the corner. From the folks at Great Flood, they cannot wait to serve you, and they are proud sponsors. So thanks to them for that message. And now here's my conversation with Peyton Siva. All right, we are joined by the legend himself. It's Peyton Siva. Peyton, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I'm excited to chat with you. I was thinking about this before you came on with me here, about how anyone who has spent any time around Rick Pitino over the years knows that Rick has it's like a subset of maybe like 6 to 8 guys, maybe even smaller than that, who he will always reference going forward as a coach, of his new guys trying to find a way to match those guys and what they brought to the table. Nazi Muhammad's on the list. It's a short list. Peyton Siva has always been on the list since your playing days with Rick, even to this day. So that is a high mark for you, which is why it's not surprising that you've gotten into coaching a little bit. So tell us, how's that going? And where have you been able to kind of apply your game knowledge in that realm?
Well, that's a high honor, especially around, from Coach Pitino, all the people he's, coached throughout the years and been around. So, that's my guy. But as far as coaching goes, I just kind of been training I do small group trainings now here in Louisville, just to kind of, give back and, get back involved in the community and just learn also as I'm teaching. I've been able to coach at the Top 100 Camp, which is the NBA Top 100 Camp for high schoolers, where they give, former players and even, current players chances to coach, learn the coaching trade, and get into all that. So, coaching's always just fascinated me, just from the mentorship part of it. So that's what I like, and I'm enjoying it.
I was going to say that for a point guard, especially, I feel like that you always kind of get labeled as, oh, that guy's going to be a coach someday. But But you are certainly someone who is always praised for your knowledge of the game, your understanding of the game. What take us through that process of like, what's it like trying to communicate that to kids, to people who are now, and I say this because I am the same way, who are starting to really feel a lot younger than us. But how have you communicated with them, and how has that part of it all gone for you?
It's tough, especially as I've only stopped playing, for a little bit. I decided to take a little break from basketball, but it's tough because you want to go out there and do it yourself. And I found that was one of the toughest things, especially coaching at the top 100 camps. Like, I can go out there and show you how to do it because I can still do it, but just learning how to communicate that has been the biggest challenge. Which has been fun because I've learned how to communicate that to kids. And like you said, as a point guard, you have to communicate things to players, where to be at on the court, what offense we're in, what defense we're in. So just translating that to now little kids, essentially, even some older guys, but just telling them, being more detailed oriented, not expecting them to be at the level that you're at right away, things that they can get better and always improve. So that's just kind of been the learning curve that I've been, challenged with and enjoying.
Well, I do have to ask. I mean, at the top 100 camp, did you have your guys in the 2-3 matchup zone? Do you have them flying around? What did the top 100 team look like?
I don't think they were ready for that elaborate of a scheme yet, but no, I mean, I will say this about the top 100 camp is kids, young men and women, but those guys particularly, they're so much more skilled nowadays. You can tell that everyone has a skilled trainer. Everyone works with a personal coach or something. They're just off the charts skill wise. I think the biggest thing for them to learn is now the game of basketball. One on one, I feel like no one could be guarded there. I mean, these guys were just so good at one on one. But now when you put the game aspect of it, playing 5-on-5, learning how to pass and cut, learning where to be at on offense, where to be at on defense, the spacing of it all, what kind of bounce pass you need to throw, lob pass. That's where guys are kind of lacking, I feel like. So it was interesting to see that, especially I've been in Europe for the last couple of years and seeing where those guys focus on those things and to see where we kind of focus on other things is pretty funny to kind of see where things are at. But those guys are amazing talent, man. They're awesome. I can't wait to watch them as they grow.
Yeah, it has been really interesting as the game has gotten more and more and more global, and we're so much more connected on social media. And I know coaches can do like clinics on, Zoom and all these other ways to communicate with each other around the world. How much more we're starting to experience people like you who are able to come back and say like, hey, this is what people in Germany are working on, and it's a little different than what we do, and we can maybe combine those things as the game grows and continues to grow. I do know, Peyton, that a lot of people appreciated that you were kind of not live tweeting, but like you would come back from a game and you would like offer your thoughts on Twitter about your team at the top 100 camp. I think that was kind of a fun aspect for people to see you experience that.
Oh yeah, I wanted to quit coaching right away. I'll tell you that. I lost a couple games, and it's like I'm done with this.
Yeah,
but, it was fun.
Well, I'll tell you this: when I lived in Florida, I was the assistant coach on like an under 12 rec league team. Okay, and the guy who was the head coach went on a business trip, and so I had to coach this one game. And man, I spent like all day on a spreadsheet because every kid had to play X amount of minutes. I had my whole game plan. I was the coach who had the rolled up paper marching up and down the sidelines. I'm like 25 years old. And my team's up. I think it was like 20 points in the third quarter. We're pressing. We're doing all this stuff. I'm having a great time. And then I realized that I had botched my rotations. So I had to put in all the guys who were just there because their parents were making them come. And in 5 minutes, we went from being up 20 to down 15, and we ended up losing by 30. So I'm 0-1 all time as a head coach, and I don't think I'll ever do it again. So there you go.
I understand that feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Well, I want to ask you a little bit about this current Louisville squad, and obviously with the chance to be around them a little bit more, and the new coaching staff. But first, I think it's really important for UofL to have Denny Crum Hall where it is, like directly across the street from the facility. Obviously, it's brand new, state of the art, beautiful facility. Just from your vantage point as a former player who, would have to ride over or walk over to the facility every day and often deep into the night for a lot of you guys to get your workouts in individually. How valuable do you think that hall is for the program to be able to have everybody right there across the street?
I think it's amazing. What more could you ask for as a college player? You're living literally right across the street. They wake up, roll out of bed, and they can jump to the other side where the practice gym is. And like you said, staying at Billy Minardi Hall, walking across campus to the gym, getting a ride across campus gym, it could be a hassle sometimes, which, as athletes and as players, you have to go through those things. But, sometimes you might be too tired or, something might come up. It might snow. You might be snowed in and you can't get across. So for these guys to have that access, have that 24/7 access to get in the gym whenever they want, to go over there, shoot, get on the shooting machine, have a manager go over there with them and shoot. It's priceless, man. And the dorm is amazing. It's like you said, state of the art. They have everything at their fingertips. And now as a former player, you always hear other former players like, man, I wish I had what you guys had, or I wish I had what you guys had. And I'm kind of at that stage like, man, I wish I had what you guys had. So, good for them. And a lot of guys are utilizing, that getting over across the street to the gym, getting their work in. And I think that's very important for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about them then. What's been your impression so far of Kenny Payne and his staff? And I'm sure you've known some of those guys over the years, but your impressions of them in their first, I guess, let's do the math, like 6.5, 7 months or so.
Yeah, and I'll start with their staff. Kenny's just an amazing guy. From the first time I, reached out to him, sent him a text message, to now being able to see him and talk to him in person. He's just been a great all around guy. You can tell he's very personable. Um, he has a great personality, and he's very genuine. If he says something, he means it. A big thing for me is he's just kind of been like, come back to the gym, be around the guys, come whenever you want, and he's welcomed me with open arms, just being around the program again. So that's been great. Then you have Danny. You have Reese there, Josh, Nolan, who I've known for quite a bit, and talked to him when he got the job here. And you have Gabe. They just have an amazing staff there. From KP all the way down to Adam Strentos, Stephanie's still there. So I think they're an amazing group. These kids are very lucky to have them, have the dedicated coaches that they have, guys with knowledge, championships, pedigree. And I think KP did a really great job of putting that team together.
I'm curious for your thoughts specifically on El Ellis, because he is in a role that you are obviously very familiar with, of being the point guard at Louisville, a school that just obviously has so much attention on its basketball program and what that experience is like. I guess we'll go here. Like, how would you, if you had an hour with El, like what would you say to him? What would your advice be to him about being the point guard for a Louisville basketball squad?
Luckily I've been around. I moved back to Louisville, so I've been around L quite a bit. And the thing that amazes me about L is his willingness to learn, his willingness to ask questions. Since I've been back, he's, hey, let's get in the gym. Hey, what do you think about this pick and roll? What do you think about this coverage? And he's just an amazing kid. And I joke with him all the time. He's very energetic. And I told him, as a point guard, you have to be somebody who leads not only by example, but you have to be able to communicate it with your teammates. And I told him that's the biggest thing. And I also told him, I said, you can have all the success, you can have amazing numbers, but it's not going to mean anything if you don't win. So you need to get, I've been able to watch a lot of their practices, and I can say about L, he's in amazing shape. So he beats everybody in conditioning drills. He's a freak athlete. So I told him, hey, pick somebody else up, who's maybe falling behind, like help out your teammates. And he's done a great job. I would say if you ask any of the coaches, they'll tell you he's just been a great leader to the guys, tremendous leader for them. And he's improved in all of his games. Last year we kind of joked about it and talked about it. He was off the ball a lot. He didn't really have the ball in his hands. He really didn't run the point guard position as effective as he wanted to. And this year he has the ball in his hands. KP gave him the keys, to the car, and he's really relishing that opportunity. So I expect a big year from L. L expects a big year from himself. We've kind of created a bond, just talking. You'll see it on social media. I'll joke with him a lot, but I told him there's a lot that comes with wearing that number 3.
That's
and,
true.
And it's a little added pressure that he's a point guard. So, he's definitely taking on the challenge now. I expect big things from him.
Yeah, that's great. And I know people will be really happy to hear that you two have had a chance to get to know each other and talk. Like I said, I mean, you are on a very short list of people who Louisville fans would just want to be the legacy guys leading these players through what is a new challenge with a new staff and for L. What I think if it goes really well, I think it would be his last college season if he has a great season. So the last thing then is, as a guy who was on a team that took great pride in its conditioning, this team's talking a lot about conditioning. What can you tell us about this group as far as like, how are they looking in the gym? It sounds like they want to get up and down. They want to be the better conditioned team and play at a fast pace.
I would say they are very well conditioned. We're not giving too much away about what they do. They do run. It still gives me PTSD walking in the gym and seeing guys run. So, but I mean, they're pushing each other, and I would say, if anything, this year they're going to play hard. KSP has really, demanded and have earned their respect. And I think that's a big thing as a coach. He has players that trust him. And with this group of guys, you have a lot of humble guys who are hungry, who wants to go out there and fight, who still have a lot to prove, especially after the last couple of seasons that Louisville had. I think they're going to come out there and play with a lot of energy. And I tell everyone this, they're going to have their ups and downs, but one thing about them is they're going to progressively get better throughout the season. And that's the main thing. You don't want to start on a very high. You want to progressively get better and better and hit the mark at the right time and make a big run. And that's what it's all about. So.
Well, we appreciate it. I've been using this phrase because, you always hear, oh, it's a rebuilding year, reloading year, or this is the year for this team. I've been calling this a learning year. This is a great opportunity for Kenny Payne, who has spent a long time preparing to be a head coach, and surely would have had a number of things that he said, like, this is what I want to do when I become a head coach. But then things happen, as you know, like the day of something happens that was unplanned. You've got to react to it and deal with it as the coach. So he's learning. You got newcomers learning. You got all these guys who are learning from a new system. So learning year. Well, I'm going with learning year for 2022-23, and we'll see how they stack up in February and March. But Peyton, thank you so much for your time. I won't keep you any longer. I know people love hearing from you, so I appreciate it. And we'll check back in with you down the line.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's always good chatting with you.